Hey everybody, today I wanted to discuss, apparently, um, Death Note, the manga anime thing, is coming to Netflix live action and very Americanized. And at first when I saw this I was like, oh god, no, not another, recreation shit like that. But as I started to think about it a bit more, I started to really get hyped for the idea. Mainly because one of the first things that turned me onto it was I was on Facebook the other day, and this notification popped up, and it said that Willem Dafoe would be playing Ryuk, and that started to get gears turning in my head, and I started to think about it, and I'm like, now that I'm picturing it, I think he would make a really good Ryuk. I don't know if they're going to be doing like CGI and he's just going to be voicing him, or if it's going to be just him in a costume. I kind of had a feeling that, like, since this version of Death Note that they're making for Netflix is really Americanized, like, Light Yagami instead is being called Light Turner, and he's being played by Nat Wolff. For those of you who don't know, Nat Wolff was he was the oldest brother in the Naked Brothers Band on Nickelodeon, old TV show. And he's going to be playing Light Turner. L is being played by what's his name? I forget it, but they changed his ethnicity. He's not like a Japanese, Russian, whatever kind of person. He's black, which I thought was really interesting. And then they have Watari being played by this younger guy who looks Korean or something. I don't know. I only really looked into Willem Dafoe and the Nat Kid, but I saw pictures of the people that were apparently going to be playing them, and that just got me thinking, like, since it looks like it's going to be like really Americanized. They're changing the ethnicities. They're changing. Can't wait to see how the story's going to vary. But normally, when it comes to stuff like this, I'm not very into it. Like, whenever I see a live action adaptation of an anime or something, I try to steer clear of it. But I don't know what it is about this one. I'm kind of hyped to see this Americanized version of this show. And I had this whole theory that with Willem Dafoe playing Ryuk, that I wonder if they're going to do a thing like in America. I don't know if this is just me that thinks this, but we seem to have creatures and stuff more humanoid looking, or more human based, more mortal looking based. So what I was thinking that and this is just like my speculation, I have no clue what they're really going to do with Dafoe, but I thought maybe instead of, like, dressing him up as this big pale dude with a hunchback and wings and shit, that they would just do like Willem Dafoe, just Willem Dafoe the actor, but in like a black suit or something, because it's supposed to be like Ryuk is supposed to be like a Shinigami of death, and I figure in America they'd like downplay that, or like try to make it more basic, and just like he could just be Willem Dafoe in a black suit, and he's a Shinigami, he's a god of death. That they just look mortal in the American version, at least. Because there's just so many things I'm looking forward to with this. Like I said, at first I was like, I wasn't thinking it was going to be, anything I was going to be interested in, but then, like, once I said the wheels started turning and I started thinking about, like, the possibilities of an Americanized version, it really sounded interesting. So you have Ryuk, you have Nat, whatever. Oh, and what's his name? I feel so bad. I can't remember this actor's name. If any of you ever saw what is it called? Boardwalk Empire. In Boardwalk Empire, Steve Buscemi, the guy who played his brother Eli, is going to be playing Light's father in this. I forget the actor's name. I've seen him like a million times. But yeah, I think he'd make a good Mr. Turner or Mr. Yagami, who's going to be heading, of course, the investigation to capture the killer that's his son or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to definitely be checking that out. And I think anyone who's interested in the series, or at least interested in an Americanized version, because I have... the only real problem I ever had with live-action adaptations, and this is... I don't know if I can really have an opinion on this or not, but, like, let's take, for example, Full Metal Alchemist. How they're making a live-action adaptation of that. And I thought it was weird because I looked at the cast and it's completely Japanese. But when you watch the anime and read the manga, they're all like English-ish. It's like Mistress, like somewhere in the eyes of Germany or Britain or wherever, in like Europe, and it just seemed kind of weird that like the whole cast of the FMA is going to be Japanese when it takes place in Europe, and that kind of be like making a live action adaptation of, let's say, Bakano or Hellsing Ultimate, where it takes place in 1930s America and modern day London, and then casting all Japanese people. But then again, people, of course, shoot back with the, why is it with Ghost in the Shell, Scarlett Johansson's being cast, when the whole thing originally takes place in Tokyo. Which I could see. I could see that. Which is why I say, like, I'm not sure if I can say anything about that. Because, yeah, that is true. But, yeah, I definitely, this for summer, I don't know why Death Note either, because I thought that I had, like, dropped Death Note a while back. Like, after the anime ended, it was like, okay, yeah, that's great. I read one of those final chapters where it, like, the last book, like the 13th or 14th book or something, where it kind of, like, revised and introduced the Death Eraser, and it was this unpublished chapter or whatever that was supposedly continuing the story. But, other than that, I really finished the series there and it was done. And I never really went back to it. I never read much of the manga, just because I'm not much of a manga reader. But, and then this pops up and I don't know, I'm really into it. I can't wait to see this. So, yeah, I think that's going to do it for today, and I wouldn't really say, like, I wouldn't, like, super suggest it to anyone, because I don't know, if you're into an Americanized version of it, you're not. That's completely your preference. I, for one, am definitely going to be checking it out, and I'm going to probably be bugging a bunch of friends to check it out, too. Just because, like, even my friends who aren't into anime, but it's like, but it's an Americanized version, it won't have maybe some of the stereotypical things you don't like about anime. Not sure, but can't wait for it, and I'll see you next video.